Hey guys, it's Quickie Baby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Trax92 playing in the Tier 7 Japanese medium tank, the Chi-Ri. Now this vehicle is quite hated in World of Tanks, I'd say. Why? Because it's the last, what I would call very weak tank in a line of your Japanese medium tanks. After this you get onto the STA-1, the Tier 8 is absolutely lovely, then the Type 61, and then finally at Tier 10 the SDB-1, which is probably one of the best Tier 10 medium tanks in the game, at least if you want 105mm, 10 degrees of gun depression, and a monstrous rate of fire that it's very, very good DPM on that tank. And so a lot of people feel that the Chi-Ri holds them back, and it's something that you just have to play through or grind through to get towards your high tier prizes. And you know, I can see why. I mean, 75mm of frontal armor, well that's okay, but 35mm of side armor, a gigantic profile, doesn't take artillery hits very well, doesn't take high explosive rounds very well. Gosh, you can see why a lot of people don't like the Chi-Ri, especially considering that for its size, it is about as slow as it looks. It isn't the fastest of medium tanks. Even on hard terrain such as this, we're barely able to go over about 30 kilometers an hour along these railroads. But what the Chi-Ri does have is a very interesting autoloader. Yep, he just killed the entirety of that Tier 5 American turreted tank destroyer, the stat padder's favorite, the T-67, in a single magazine. And merely seconds later, ready to go again. Now, what is this autoloader? Well, it's a 75mm that has 3 rounds each magazine. Now, the alpha damage on these shells isn't the highest, it's 130. And so what that means is that you've got 390 damage per magazine if you're able to connect all of your shells. And that allows the Chi-Ri to do some devastating hits to low tier tanks and quickly be able to reload to go again. And that really is the strength of the Chi-Ri. The fact that it can just dump out 390 alpha damage, often to separate targets as well if it needs to, rather investing them in all one big alpha damage shell within 2 seconds, because the delay between each of these shots is only a second. However, the penetration is not very good like a lot of Tier 7 medium tanks, 155mm, and even if you load premium that only goes up to 186, which isn't really enough to deal with the Tier 9 tanks that this vehicle can meet. But there isn't a single Tier 9 tank in here. There are only 2 Tier 7 tanks in here, and that's because Trax92 is in a hell of a matchup for this tank, being the only Tier 7 tank on his team, and having to fight against the Oni on the enemy team. Now there's a VK3601H, that's a Tier 6 German heavy tank, but he has no interest in shooting the Chi-Ri. He'd rather kill the Panzer III-4 to Trax92's left, and that gives Trax92 the opportunity to unload an entire magazine and then reload and put another one in. But oh gosh, little over 3 minutes into the game and Trax92's team is completely dead. He is now in a 1 versus 9 situation, which he quickly turns into a 1 versus 8. Gosh, there are still 3 self-propelled guns on the enemy team and 5 tanks that he has to shut down, including that Tier 7 Oni, a Hellcat as well with 3 kills, who seems to be having a great game, but he doesn't have a moment to lose right now. What? An enemy Birch gun kills a Hummel? Oh god, they're in a platoon. I guess they're having a bit of a laugh. More on that later, because Trax92 needs to focus on the Hellcat. He stops shooting the Hellcat and shoots the low health T-67, realizing that the T-67 has pretty much just as much DPM as the Hellcat. Great decision there, and that allows him to reload. Unfortunately, his Chi-Ri, well, at least the ass of the Chi-Ri, is quite flammable. He gets set on fire, but luckily he carries a fire extinguisher instead of some of that lovely tasty onigiri. So he's able to extinguish it and keep himself into the game. Absolutely flawless play there by Trax92. You can see why he's such a good player with a great win ratio. He really knows his stuff. So he's changed the situation completely now. The 1 versus 9 is now a 1 versus 5. Although the enemy are helping him out a little bit. Let's take a look at what actually happened with that Birch gun. He's in a platoon with the Hummel that he killed. And then the Hummel, just as he casually finishes off the Su-8 trying to get his side armor, the Hummel says, "Kill the traitor." I guess his platoon mate stabbed him in the back. It's a bit of an awkward move there. This KV-1 is on full health and trying to have a go at Trax, and unfortunately for Trax, he's made a bit of a mistake there. He takes 2 hits from the KV-1, but fortunately his last shell sets the KV-1 on fire, and it doesn't look like the KV-1 is able to use his fire extinguisher, or maybe he's just refusing to do so. didn't want to spend that 3,000 credits at tier 5. That's quite understandable. Well, actually, no, it's not. You're a scrub if you don't use a fire extinguisher, even on a low tier tank. Because then you're giving people like Trax92 the opportunity to take down these games. And I'm sure Trax92 is happy about that. The Chiri comes out, sorry, not the Chiri, the Churchill even, close to a Chiri, and is putting high explosive rounds into Trax92's armor. But luckily for him, the thickest part of the armor is likely at the front of the tank, and that's definitely the case with the Chiri. 75mm of frontal armor is meaning that those high explosive rounds from the Churchill one is doing precious little damage. Now Trax has significantly weakened these tier 5 heavy tanks, and he seems to be going in for the kill. Puts the first into the Churchill, bounces his second off the KV-1 hull, and so that means that he's going to have to fully reload. I don't really like that play. I don't think he should have come round to just put an extra one into the KV-1. I think he would have done better to just reload there without firing at the KV-1 and telling him, alright, you can take a shot at me now, right, mate? But luckily, all ends well, and he shuts down that KV-1, doing the full hit points, the 640 hit points, that tier 5 Soviet heavy tank. Now on 10 kills. I bet you that Birch Gun, who just missed Trax92, is wishing that he hadn't killed his ally, his platoon mate in the Hummel. Maybe he was jealous that he was picking up a couple of kills. And I bet you Trax92 is equally just as happy that the Birch Gun has done that, and so he doesn't have to deal with a Hummel that seems to be one of the better players on the enemy team. And that's saying a lot. So Trax92 now has to hunt down an Oni. We don't know exactly how many hit points he in. Oh, yep, we have spotted him, 386. So that means that he is a 50-50 if he penetrates all of his shots, whether he is going to be able to kill that Oni in a single magazine. And that's something that when you're going into these situations where you're 1 versus 1, when you're 1 versus 2, that you really have to be thinking about in World of Tanks. Am I able to kill the opponent with a single shot? How likely is it that I'm going to do so? Or if you're in an autoloader, can I kill him in a single magazine? How many can I possibly afford to miss? Or maybe invest into tracking my opponents to be able to then use the remnants of my magazine to finish him off. So that Birch Gun as well, maybe not the biggest of threats, but then again with 161 hit points left, his fuel tank's damaged and his fire extinguisher used, his medkit used, his repair kit used. Trax92 really is on his last legs here, and he's going hunting. What is the Birch Gun? Is it a tier 4? Tier 4 British self-propelled gun, I guess. I think that should be enough to be able to take him out, especially if it hits the side or the rear, but I think if Trax92 keeps his frontal armor to the self-propelled gun, he's probably going to be able to take a hit. So the Oni is likely to be using a very big gun. There's not really much chance of him taking any round from the Oni, but he's been spotted. The Birch Gun gets spotted. The Birch Gun fires on the move, and it can fire sideways. I didn't realize that. That self-propelled gun is certainly teaching me a thing or two. And the oh gosh, Chiri takes a hit. He does manage to absorb it and finishes him off, but oh gosh, there's the Oni. The Oni has very good rear armor, and so the first shell bounces, but the second one goes in. Remember that Trax92 is using premium rounds here. Is he going to be able to reload and finish off the Oni as he missed? 1, 2, put the third one in. No, don't pull back. Finish him off. Yes. Great result for Trax92, taking down this 1 versus 9 situation and securing 12 kills in this game, just completely carrying his team. So what an absolutely flawless game here for Trax92. You simply can't carry a game harder than this, and it's very clear to see why he's such a good player. Trax92 demonstrated how to keep calm under pressure, and no better example than when he was ambushed by that T-67 and that Hellcat to decide to use the last remaining shell, even though he'd put 2 into the Hellcat, into the T-67, probably saved him the health that he needed to be able to go on and take this one down, as he only had 102 hit points left. That's a single shot from the T-49. And I wonder how many of you got up this morning thinking, I'm going to see a Chiri, probably one of the most underestimated tanks in the game, handle a 1 versus 9 situation and pick up 12 kills. I couldn't believe it when I saw this replay. So let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So this was Trax92's first ace tanker. He also got a Pools medal for his 12 kills, unsurprisingly a high caliber, 4,600 damage done. That's over 5 times what anyone else on his team was able to do. do. In fact, that's 50% more than the rest of his team's damage combined. That truly is a high caliber medal at its best. He also picked up a steel wall amazing in a Chi-Ri. He took 12 hits this game and managed to bounce 220 damage, so it was pretty much his hit points from low caliber guns that enabled him to get that steel wall. And also, the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents. In Trax 92's case, 9 opponents. And even though he fired a few premium rounds towards the end of this game, he still made an 18,000 credit profit. What was his base experience? 1,819. Boy, if I could ever get a game this good in the Chi-Ri, I would be so happy. So Trax 92, thank you so much for sending me this replay. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and you handled yourself just perfectly in this game. There are only some minute things that maybe could have saved you a little bit of health, but considering the pressure and the situation you're under, I think I would be nitpicking if I highlighted them. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as well. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this video has sparked your interest in Japanese medium tanks, then simply click through up here and you can see a 1 versus 8 situation for its bigger brother, the STA-1. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the Chi-Ri. Is it as bad as a lot of people make it out to be? Or in situations like this, is it quite an okay tank? And have you got any tips for players who are maybe trying to grind their way through this vehicle to get onto the higher tier Japanese medium tanks? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.